Speaking of spirit, I think Ronnie had a question regarding how you could potentially help a spirit.
Oh,
Yeah. Doing the stuff that we do and everything, going to help out clients and everything.
yeah.
I mean, do you believe that the people that come into the houses to help out a client, do you think that they're actually able to help cross a spirit, or do you feel that you don't really quite know where you might be crossing that spirit to?
Well, yeah, I don't necessarily try to cross spirits myself. I kind of encourage them to go. That way, they get to choose where they're going, or if they want to go. And if it's something that's benign, I mean, and it's probably going to stay in that house anyway. That's just a matter of getting the people and the spirit to live together. I do try to help the spirit too. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
In that, hey, it's the old thing like ghost hunters always did. You're living with somebody else's house now. You got to be respectful of each other. You got to work with each other here. Leave each other alone, and but why are you still here? Maybe you want to move on. Maybe you do want to go join your family that's on the other side. You can talk to them. Sometimes they're lost. Sometimes they're confused. Sometimes they're just stubborn. They don't want to leave. That is kind of their heaven, so they don't want to leave it. That's their home. That's all they knew. So you got to work with, kind of try to work with them a little bit as best you can. It's not like I could talk to you or we can talk to each other, right? So it gets a little bit more complicated than that. But you just got to keep kind of working with it and teach the family how to work with it. In other cases where you're dealing with something negative, even if it's just a negative human spirit that's just was a miserable SOB in life, and they still are, you got to move them along. And I will ask somebody who I know who knows how to do that to come in and do that, right? Because it's two things. Number one, it's not good for the family that individual spirit stays there, and actually, it's not good for that spirit to stay there either, because they're dwelling in their own negativity. That's all that's left of them. So, in some cases, when you got a good psychic medium that can actually talk to a spirit, work with it, and move it along, get it the heck out of there, you're better off. In the cases of something that is truly demonic, like with a possession case, you ain't working with that thing. That thing's got to go, and then you got to go to, you got to take severe means to do that, right? You have to call in an exorcist. That's a whole different scenario, though. Even if it's just under oppression, the person's under oppression, you still got to get rid of that thing. But that goes on to other things too. Of that person has to take control of their life and start changing their life and their lifestyle, and getting help for usually psychological issues that they're dealing with, and psychological trauma that they dealt with or had in their past. So that's a little bit different. But we have had cases where we've been able to assist spirit. Actually, one happened on Haunted Case Files. I think that was during season 1. We did a case at this place in Massachusetts. It's a historical site. It's called the Loring Greenough House. All right, and built in the early 1700s. The family is actually somewhat deeply involved in the Revolution on the side of the British, so they end up having to leave. But there was something else we hit on, that this one daughter, Hannah, had a baby, but it was taken away. And the indications, everything that we gathered that night during the investigation indicated that she was raped by a family member. That's how she had the baby. But the family couldn't keep it, obviously, so they got rid of it. And, you take that with a grain of salt. But as I started doing the research, I found out there was one child born around the time that Hannah was between the ages of 17 and 18. Its name was Mary, and then there was no other mention of that child at all. It was only mentioned in one of the 2 family Bibles. All the other kids that were born in that family, there was a date of birth and a date of death and a little bit of information on them. Not that one. Just that one only had a date of birth, a name, and that was it. No other information in any of the files on the family. And we were able to access that through the historical site. So that tells me that maybe that was true. But the society wouldn't let us really talk much about it there at the place. They didn't want to put anything up to recognize it or anything like that. So I told Hannah at one point, I said, I promise you somehow, some way we'll tell your story. We'll get it out and we'll tell it out there. Well, while I'm filming that story for Haunted Case Files, which they only decided at the last minute to film, I had to stay an extra day because they decided to film that at the last minute. I'm telling the story, and the producer goes, we got into that part of the story, and the producer says, well, Mr. Kenna, what do you think happened? What do you really think happened? And all of a sudden, I found myself just blurting all this stuff out and realized I'm just sitting back. I'm not really talking. Somebody else was talking through me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hannah came through and waited all that time, which was about a year and a half, to finally tell her own story, where that emotion came out, and the crew is sitting there filming. They're like, I started crying at the end of it.
Oh.
They're like, are you okay? I said, I think I will be. I said, but I don't think that was me talking just now. Because everything just spewed out specifics of who it was, what happened, how it happened. If you watch the episode, you'll hear it. They don't show me, but you can hear the emotion in my voice as I'm telling it. I think that was Hannah. I think in that particular case, we helped that spirit tell her story, and hopefully she's at rest now. That she got to tell about her daughter and what happened. So,
Wow.
I think a lot of people forget that the paranormal isn't always helping the living; it's also helping the dead.
That's right.
And that at one point in time, they were alive too. They have a story to tell. They have feelings, and they're here for a reason. Like you said, it could be just that they're stubborn, but some of them are sometimes here because they are genuinely in need of help, and they're just as integral to the puzzle of the case as the living people are.
Right.
So,
well, that goes back to my first thing I told you about, which is the question I asked. What's important to you? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to tell us, or what are you trying to tell the people that are living here? Right. So we let them know that that's what we're here for. We're here for them to talk about what they need to talk about.
Right.
Because not every haunting is malicious, right? It's sometimes just misunderstood.
Right. Yeah. And you just have to show them the same respect, and then they might calm down, because people assume that all this activity, if it's aggressive, is just like because the spirit is angry or something. No, it could just be really trying to get your attention, being like, help me, please help.
Right. And they feel one or two people in that house can recognize that they're there, and they're the ones they're trying to reach out to. I always say it's the analogy of the drowning person. Okay. If they're desperate for help, you go out to try to save them, they're going to scratch you, grab you, maybe drag you down with them, but they're going to be desperate. And that's what you're talking about, is that potentially these spirits are desperate for help or attention. So you can get scratched, you can get bruised, you can get anything happen to you. Doesn't mean it's evil, doesn't mean it's demonic. You got to figure that out. That's the part you got to figure out.
Right. And that's why I think we get frustrated sometimes when we see teams walk into a location and be a little too aggressive off the bat. They tend to start poking the bear a little bit when we're like, whoa.
What do you think you get out for?
Yeah.
What do you tell people? If somebody came into your house and started talking to you that way, what would you tell them?
Right. Get out.
Definitely.
Exactly. And that kind of makes me think, recently on one of the live Q&As you did with Carly Hall, you guys were talking about how at a location you can have two different paranormal teams go in, and they can walk out with two different experiences or conclusions based on the techniques and tactics they use. So can you kind of give us your opinions and feelings on that? Like, how do you feel that a team's techniques can affect the way that they are able to find the solution for a client?
Well, like you said, I mean, if you go in aggressively, you're probably really not going to get much, or you'll get to get out, or you'll get aggression back, right? Because you're being aggressive. So what do you think is going to happen? It's like, I'll tell people, it's like seeing somebody on the street. If you're aggressive with them immediately, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to be aggressive back at you, right? So if you take a different approach, if you're like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Hey, I'd like to talk to you a little bit. But you're probably going to get that same reaction back. right? Or you may get a huh, but you're not going to get a get out. Like, what are you asking me all those questions for? But
Yeah.
you got to take a different approach. You got to approach it as if you're talking to a regular person. Granted, there's nobody there. You can't see him. Maybe there is nobody there. I don't know. Right. But we don't know that. That's what we're there to try to find out. So you've got to approach them as if you're talking to a person and treat them as such, and I think you'll find it may take a little while because they're not sure what you're really all about.
Mhm.
So you can't determine in an hour or 2 hours what's going on there. Right. It can take some time and you may need to go back again. What I have noticed is, like the first time you don't get much, you go back again, all of a sudden they're willing to talk to you because, oh, they came back.
Right.
Oh, I meant to talk to them, but I wasn't sure what. Oh, I'm going to talk to them this time. They came back. I'm going to talk to them. So for a while that will happen, and then it'll quiet down again. After I think they get across to you whatever they're trying to get across to you. But yeah, don't take the aggressive approach. I strongly recommend against that, and that doesn't always mean like swearing and yelling and stuff like that. An aggressive approach can just be, well, we're here to talk to you. I drove all this way and you need to talk to me. That can be aggressive too, right? They don't need to talk to you. What do they need to talk to you for? I don't care how far you drove, or how far you came. I don't have to talk to you. Right. So that can be an aggressive approach where you don't think it is, right? Instigating. There's different ways to instigate. You can instigate by being rude and mean and whatever, or you can take something you've heard about the person or the spirit that's there and kind of use that. Like there was Fisher College out in Boston we investigated, and it used to be an old mansion. So the story was that the people that owned the mansion, the wife was a mean woman. Nobody liked her. Nobody came to her funeral and all this stuff. So I used that in the location where they said they see this woman. I said, wow, so I hear you're mean. I heard you're a mean woman. Nobody liked you and nobody came to your funeral. We heard, me and the other guy were in there at the time, in the library section at the time, heard a woman scream. This loud scream. We thought it was one of our people. I ran out of the doors looking and say, hey, did you guys scream down there? Like, no. You didn't hear that? No, this was loud. To us, it was loud. Listen back to the recorder. It's a woman's voice saying, they liked me.
Oh, snap.
That's what the recorder caught. They liked me. Doing the research, the school had it all wrong. The husband and wife who lived there, they said, they were from New York. Nobody liked them because it's out in Boston. Turns out, no, they were from Boston. They were well liked in the community. A lot of people came to the funeral. It was just all a mixed up thing. But it was enough to get her attention by me saying, hey, I heard. So I was instigating without being mean.
Right.
And I got a response that led me to the real truth.
There you go.
So there you go. So you can use those type of tactics and maybe get responses better that way too. Sometimes the best way to get activity is just talking amongst yourselves as investigators. Just talking about why you're there and, another investigation you did or how, hey, I had this experience or something. All of a sudden, you'll see stuff starting to join in. But you know what? It's like the old water cooler theory, right? They'll all come in. They want to hear and they want to talk about it too.
Yeah.
So remember that too. So those are the better techniques. I would avoid anything to do with any really being totally negative, or aggressive.
Right.
Have you ever had to clean up from another team that kind of stirred things up while they were there because they only knew what they've seen on TV or certain TV shows?
I would say this: more the cleanup had to do with the family and convincing them, no, you don't have a demon in your house. It's not trying to kill all of you. It got aggressive because you told me this is what this team did, and that's probably why it got aggressive with you after the fact. Oh, when you told me they cleansed your home, the way you told me they did it, again, using the sage, but no windows open, no doors open, they just moved it all around. They didn't do it properly. So, things like that. you know. And I would always tell teams, I mean, a lot of teams just think they got to do it all themselves and they can do it all themselves. Spirits of New England, we reached out to other teams when we were starting out. We didn't know. Like somebody said, well, you know, should we cleanse the home? Yeah, we probably should. Oh, let's call our friends, blah, 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 that know how to do that. Yeah, okay. And they would come and help us. You know, you call in that extra expertise, right?
Right.
Because you don't know everything. You've got to learn. And these other teams are willing to teach you, you know? So I would tell teams out there, don't be afraid to reach out. You know, that's what we're all here for. You know, I've had teams just call me and ask me advice. I give it to them, you know. Matter of fact, I got a friend of mine I got to get back to as it is. He's called me for 2 days now. It's like I haven't had the time to get back to him, but I got to call him and get back to him because he had some questions about their investigation at Insdale House. So I got to get back to him on that. But yeah, we're always here. You know, I got my live show most Tuesday nights. The last 2 I've canceled, but just had other things going on. But you can catch us on our show, ask us, or just reach out and ask me. Just reach out through Facebook, you know, and find me there and you reach out and ask. We'll always answer your questions. We may not ask them the same day or answer them the same day, but we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
You know? But don't be afraid to ask another team who's close by that has more, let's just say more experience than you have, their opinion, and even ask for their help. They'll come and help you, you know. Most will.
That's why we try to start doing these Q&As because we think it's so important to have these conversations with people from different backgrounds, different experiences, different knowledge, because you never know what new technique or what they've learned that you can associate with a case of your own. And it's all about communicating and just kind of having that open conversation. And we've had a lot of different opinions, and I think it's great to hear them all. Some of them conflict with each other, but there's nothing wrong with that either. I think it totally depends on the person and the circumstances.
Well, nobody's really right or wrong per se in this field. I mean, there is some things, like we just said, you don't want to be really going aggressively into any investigation, especially a residential case. Some things, yes, that's common sense. Don't do that, you know. But other things, as far as techniques or devices or whatever, nobody's right or wrong, you know. Sometimes I've heard things that people say, hey, I use this way. Oh my God, that sounds like a great idea. I didn't ever thought of that, you know. And I'll try that on my next investigation or something, you know, just to see, hey, how does this work for this, you know. And not everything's going to work on every investigation either. So don't be afraid to go back to some of the more basic things like using divining rods and feel out the energy that's in the location, even just to feel out the energy that's there. Because you can use them just to feel what the energy in the location is, what it feels like. Does it feel heavy? Does it feel more jovial? Is it benign? Is it negative? You can catch on those things just by walking around a location with them. You know, not even asking any questions, just walk around a location. Because it almost acts as like an antenna for you. Okay. Now you walk around, you can feel, oh, this room feels heavier and stuff like that. Sometimes it's divining rods for somebody who can't disseminate that as well. Sometimes carrying those divining rods with them can help them because it's copper. It's going to pick up on energies more. It's going to, that copper to copper. I like the copper to copper ones, right? Where they got the copper handles, because that's feeding right to your energy itself, right to your hands. So it's reading right to your own energy. There's no, you know, there's nothing blocking it. So you can do that. There's all different techniques and all different ideas. Share them out there. That's what our Tuesday show is about. You know, our paranormal Q&A is all about the people who come to watch that show, or, you know, and ask questions. And there's times I laugh because Carly and I will be sitting there talking, and I'll be looking at the comments section. All of a sudden, notice they're not even listening to us; they're just talking amongst themselves. And I love it. I love it. It's perfect. That's what I wanted. Because now they're discussing something just between themselves that we're off the topic of, and but we've started that conversation. We've started them talking, and it's awesome. It's like, no, let's just sit back and see what they say, Carly.
Right.
You know, then we'll post up what they're talking about, and we'll say, oh, here's the poster, here's what he says, and here's what she says. You know, I'll post them up there. You know, I'll put them up there.
Yeah.
So it's good. You know, and that's what we did it for. You know, And I would say this, we had an event of our own on the USS Salem just a couple weeks ago, and a bunch of the people from our chat section came to it, and they all got to meet each other in person for the first time.
Oh, that's
So,
fun.
Oh, that's
yeah, that
Cool.
was amazing because they like all hit it off too. So it's like now they're talking to each other. And now
Right.
they're making plans to meet up again, and it's great. That's what it's
That's
about,
cool.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what it's
I
about.
enjoy listening to it the next day while I'm working. I'll have it up
Yeah.
on my work computer and I'll listen to the conversation as I'm working. I enjoy it thoroughly.
We are slowly getting everything up on Spotify too. We are on Spotify now.
Oh,
So
cool.
like if you're just listening at work and you got Spotify, you can listen to it there. I think it's on iHeartRadio now too. I forget, but slowly, that's some more of the older ones. I'm slowly getting the rest of them, getting caught up with the rest of them up there too. So I think
Nice.
we've got like 20 episodes up there already. So,
Wow.
so yeah, there's more way. You're driving in your car, you want to listen, you can catch us on Spotify. There you go.
Awesome. Good podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Good podcast. Yeah.
I think we're going to jump into a little bit of a different topic of conversation,
sure.
Which is, obviously you wrote the book Paranormal Research, which Brittany has there, and you give a lot of advice regarding joining a team, building a team, running a team, the whole nine. We actually had an interesting experience because when we started our team, we were all on another team together and we just hit it off really well. So we were like, you know what, it'd be really fun to do our team of our own where we can kind of try new things, do things differently. So, and we found it really important when, bringing new members on, having that special dynamic and that really important way to be able to connect with each other. Can you kind of go into the logistics or the importance of that strong dynamic on a team and why it's important, especially when you're trying to help clients on investigation?
Yeah, well, that dynamic you're talking about is probably the most important thing for any team.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's true even with the work that I do for my job. I mean, I used to put together and manage teams that were working on weapon system stuff. I worked for the Department of the Army. So yeah, you better have people who have the right, can get along together,
Yeah.
and have the same goal in mind, and for the most part, that's always true. You're always going to run into conflicts between individuals at times. It's just going to happen, it's working through those conflicts that can be the toughest, and that's where you need a strong leadership, right? Team leader, right? And there may be more than one, but you got to let your team know. They got to be able to reach out to you and talk to you, right? And tell you if they're having a problem with somebody. And even when they do, you need to talk to the other person too and say, hey, what's going on? Right. Find out the truth of because, people can be, oh, this one perceives this way. This one perceives it a different way. And sometimes they're both wrong. So, but it's important to have a team that gels and coalesces. Excuse me. So actually they get to the point where you don't have to have those type of conversations. Everybody works it out amongst themselves. And as the leader of the team per se, you don't even have to get involved. They work it out. It's over and done with it. Everybody, you want to get to the point where it's gelled that everybody knows their job, knows what they're supposed to do when you go in, right? You have tech people, that could set up everything. You have people just like you walk through and you go, you're going through that walkthrough and you go, yeah, definitely put stuff here, put something over here, start investigating here, blah, 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 blah. And you go through all that. And there's always good people that are good at that. So you got to pick out who's good at doing what. Right. And that's when things begin to gel. That's when you pick out who's good at doing what and what they like to do and what they're good at doing. For instance, I always like to use is in Spirits New England, Ellen McNeil is our team founder. On every investigation, I'm the team leader. Just because that's my skill. I can organize everybody and get them all together and get them to start doing what we need to do. Right. And you have somebody like Ellen who's very good at talking with the clients and getting them to open up. Okay. So you want to have somebody that likes to do that. They also have to, Ellen's kind of funny because she never used to talking with people that she didn't know, but she was really good at it. So eventually she kept doing it and got over her qualms about talking to other people. So actually, in a way, it helped her grow, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for other people. But you have to try people out. You guys learned about each other because you're on that other team.
Right.
And my guess would be you guys probably hung out the most on that team.
Yeah.
Between each other.
We were definitely friends first. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So that's why you're able to form your own team. Right. As you bring new people on, I would say get to know them before you bring them on. Try them out, see how they work out. A good test is seeing who will review all the audio and video for you.
I mean, the worst part.
Will they actually do it
right?
by the time you need them to?
Yeah.
Will they actually do it? Not everybody on the team does it. We know this. Even on our team, there's only a couple people who actually review evidence because nobody else likes to do it. They do it when they have to, but only when they have to. But you'll find those couple people that they enjoy. I don't want to say enjoy doing it, but they'll do it because they love when they capture something. They love finding that needle in the haystack or finding that little jewel of that EVP, I mean, I love doing that, so you will find people that are willing to review your audio and video and stuff like that and not really grumble too much about it, because you find it fun in a way. I know it's not, but you can. You just got to work it out. You just got to feel each other out and feel who's doing what. And you've also got to be careful because we've had people on our teams that they seem they're going to be great and they're this and that and everything else. And then you find out they're making up evidence. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. It does happen because they're trying to impress. I don't know who. Right. But they're trying to impress, right? But you usually can tell those people because they'll always want to go off alone at some point. And all of a sudden they come back with all this great stuff that happened. Those are little, flags to watch out for. But most people are pretty honest and pretty good at what they do. A lot of people want to get on TV. Everything's about TV. So you will get people on your team that's what it's about to them. They want to get great evidence so they can, do a YouTube show or maybe get on TV and do more shows and stuff like that. All more power to you, pal. But I mean, I could say that, I guess, right? I've been on enough, but I did not try. I did not try. I just fell into it by accident. It never really was, and it still isn't to this day a big thing for me. But you've got to build that team, and you can only build that team by working together, hanging out together. You don't have to do it a lot, but like before you go on your investigation, go out to dinner together. Hang out, talk to each other, during the week or something. Just touch base with each other, stuff like that. Because I live in a whole nother state from the rest of the Spirits team. Carly and I live in New York. The rest of the team is out in Winthrop, Massachusetts. Obviously, we don't get together every weekend, but we do talk to each other. We chat online, or we'll message each other, or we'll just call each other, and we talk to each other. So, and that's how you get to know each other. And but ask, when somebody joins, ask them, well, what do you want to do? What are your goals for being on the team, and what do you want to do on the team? Do you like, working with all the evidence? Do you like, working with the equipment? Do you, find out what they want to do, and then you just got to keep kind of watch and see what they're good at and what they're not good at. Right. Especially if it's somebody who hasn't investigated much before, you're gonna have to teach them. Right. You're gonna have to show them. So I mean, and if they're resistant to that, then maybe they shouldn't be on your team. Yeah. If they think they know it all already, then maybe they're not the right fit. And don't be afraid to tell them. The best people are always nervous about, well, how do I tell them I don't want them on the team? Tell them. Why? And they're not going to be happy and whatever, but you've got to do it. Sometimes you got to do it. Yeah. That's the downside of being a team founder.
Mhm.
And it should always be the team founder that does it. I'll be honest with you, because that person founded that team and it's their team.
Mhm.
And if there's three of you that are the founders, the three of you got to confront the one individual and say, sorry, it's not working out.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, and that's the best you can do, you know,
Yeah.
because you don't want to drag on something that's not working,
Right.
you know,
Right.
because they will ruin your team. They will.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think it's also important that the team members get to know each other, not only to know that they get along, but because
Right.
let's say you're on an investigation and something's getting to them and you're starting to be like, they're acting a little strange. They don't normally curse or they don't normally get this tired so early in the evening. Like, and
Right. Right.
you have to recognize the red flags sometimes when things
Exactly.
start going sideways.
Yep. That's right. That's
So,
absolutely right. You also do want to know, you know, what their medical condition is.
mhm.
If they have any medical conditions, you know, I mean, that's, you know, because you need to know that just for what you just said. If something seems to be off, what's wrong with them?
Right.
You know, are they diabetic, you know, and their insulin is dropping or something, you know,
Right.
you need to know these things, you know, so that you can help them,
Mhm.
you know, and make sure nothing bad happens, you know. So you do need to know those more intimate details about each other, you know, just like our team. Well, our team's been together forever, but we know all of our issues and problems and everything else, you know, as far as medical wise goes. But you have to,
Mhm.
right? You have to, and you have to know, you know, what that person's like and their personality and stuff like that. So if there is a change of personality, that could be because something's affecting them, right?
Mhm.
So, like you're saying, you need to know these things, and that takes time. It does. You're not going to know it instantly,
Right.
you know. That's why if you're bringing in new people, you gotta. Sometimes the best way to bring in new people is like if you have somebody you're at work who's really interested, which I've run into that a couple times, and they're like, "Wow, I really like to learn more. Well, why don't you come hang out with our team if you're looking for an extra person for your team?" You know, because now you kind of already know them. You know a little
Mhm.
bit about them, and you can just have them like kind of hang out with you. Don't offer them anything. Just say, "Hey, I want you to be part of." No, don't say that right away. Don't say be part of our team. Say, "Why don't you come along and well, just come along with us one time. You can help us out."
Right.
You know, and as long as they follow what you tell them, just follow what we tell you to do. You're going to be with one of each of us all night long, so you're not going to be alone. Don't worry about that. And then see how they do and keep trying them out that way. You know, it's a good
Mhm.
way to test people out too. And then they're not just somebody you'd have no clue who this person is either.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it's somebody you know from the outside, a friend or a coworker or something. You know,
Right.
or somebody from a team you were on before. You know, maybe they didn't do well on that team just because they didn't like what that team was doing, right? So, like yourselves, I mean, you did your own thing because maybe the other team wasn't as good at trying new things as you guys are, right? You know, they kind of pigeonhole themselves. This is how we do it.
Yep.
This is how we do
Yeah.
it. One way,
Yeah.
one way. You know, oh, I know. Yeah, I'm not picking on anybody. Everybody does their own thing, but I do know you get team founders and leaders out there that just this is how we do it. We do
Mhm.
not deviate. This is it.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever, but you're not going to learn a lot that way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
It's
I do see that a lot. I do actually see it a lot out there.
well,
You
I
know?
think a lot of teams come like they see what works for them and then they're like, okay, now we must do this every time. And
Well,
you know, maybe
they see
maybe
what
those
works for the guy who's running the team anyway,
yeah.
or the woman that's running the team.
True.
Usually, one or
Yeah.
two people make that decision of this is what works for us. But that's not why I say what works for the whole team. I always encourage my people. Like when we're doing investigating, they always said, "Well, do you want to do it?" No, try something different. See
Right.
what works. You know.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I want to try this. Go ahead.
Right.
Oh, okay. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we do that now anyway. But early on, it's like, well, Jack, is it okay if I try? I don't care. It's not my team. It's your team, Ellen. Ellen would always ask me that. It's like, Ellen, it's your team. You can do what you want with it on it. I'm just here coordinating things. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so but I always encourage people think outside the box, right? Try
Yeah,
different
sure.
things. You know, you don't know what's going to work until it does.
Mhm.
Right.
So, and it's not always the same thing you do every time is not always gonna work every time, right?
Okay.
You may get some results every time, but you might have gotten better results if you tried something else, right?
Right.
So keep an open mind. So I always tell people, keep an open mind, think outside the box, try something different. If nothing seems to be working, right? Try something different. Mix it up between who hangs out with who each time, right? Because a lot of times we get pigeonholed. We tend to gravitate towards the same person to investigate with all the time. Mix that up, mix that energy up, right? And do that if you can, right? So remember that too, because sometimes just doing that can make a big difference.
I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of time and effort it takes to build a team, because when we decided to start a team, we actually didn't launch our website or like put ourselves out there for client inquiries for almost a full year, because we actually we started training with another team just to see what techniques they use. And they knew it. They were like, yeah, come on. And like, we'll show you how we do things. And we wanted to just make sure we knew what we were doing before even the option of potentially getting a client, because I think you have a lot of people out there who they just have a general interest in the paranormal, and they're like, I'm going to start a team. And then suddenly it's like, okay, like there's a lot of work.
Yeah. And I would say this, when you're starting a team, don't start off with residential cases. Go to the other places first, investigate together, get to know each other, get to know each other's techniques, different things you want to try and do. Because I will tell you, as you know, working with residential cases, it's not for everybody.
Right.
There's a big commitment involved with that. It's not just going in, investigating, and say, "Oh, here's what we found." These people are looking for help.
Right.
And if you can't give it,
getting text messages or a phone call at like 1-2 o'clock in the morning because
oh my God, yes,
something happened. I mean, we've had that happen with us on our team and on our previous team that we were on.
Yeah, and that's part of it. That is part of it. That comes with the territory. These people are afraid. It's not just, we got a house to investigate. Cool. No, that's not why these people called you. They contacted you to help them. You got to help them. If you don't know how, fine. Give it to a team that does.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're in over your head, again, like I said earlier on, if you do have a case and you're really trying to help, but there's something you not really comfortable with, call on the other team to help you, who is comfortable with doing that. And do it with them. Go with them. I mean, it's your case. You're just asking them for assistance. You don't have to turn it over, but you can have them come in and assist you. And a lot of them will be willing to do that. And because I've done that, and I've said, it's your case. I'm just here to help. I'm not taking over your case. It's your case. But, I just, well, what do you need me to do? All this and that. Okay, I could do that, And sometimes you'll find that the client will go to that individual and say, oh, well, thank you for helping me. And blah, blah, blah. Hey, no. These people helped you. They just asked me to come by and assist. I give credit where credit's due. If it wasn't for that team, I wouldn't be there either. So, and I try to teach them. I'll show them, this is what I'm doing. This is how to do it. I don't keep that to myself. I want them to grow, right? You want that team to grow and learn more. So again, most other teams are willing to do that. Don't be afraid to ask them,
And
but
I think
residential
that's why
cases are not for everybody.
No, and I think that's why our team meshes so good together, is because our team going into it and having previous experiences and stuff with other teams and helping, we went into this not for everyone goes into paranormal stuff for like some fun aspects to go fun hunts, but we pretty much all knew we were going into this for we know that this is it's a job you don't get paid for. The payment is pretty much is getting to help the client,
right? And
seeing that client being able to go on living in the house that they're in,
right?
Knowing that they're not alone anymore, that they're able to talk to somebody that is not going to look at them like they're crazy,
right?
And that's pretty much why I think most of us, especially our team, got into it. Is that's that for us? That's what we want to do.
And that's why Spirits in New England did what we did too. That's why we do what we do. You don't get paid. It's a lot of it's about karma. right?
Yeah.
I mean, doing that for people and helping people like that, eventually that stuff comes back around to you, you know? I mean, it's not always about money either. It's just about, you know, you make more friends, you meet new people, right? You make more connections, and your life becomes a little bit happier, you know, because of the friends you make and the people you meet along the way, you know, and sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes, yeah, you end up on a TV show because of what you do. Yeah, whatever. It can happen. It can happen. But though I mean, some people, that's what they look for. You know, I always tell people today, if you really wanted to, you probably could get on a show. I've helped people get on a show just because of the connections I've had. It's like, if you really want to get on it, yeah, I'll get you. Yeah, I'll talk to my producer and we'll see if he's doing something that he can get you on. You know, ultimately, it's up to you and them. You know, I just give people the connection, you know, and go from there. But yeah, it's, to me, it's about the karma that you're helping people, and that positivity is going to come back to you in positive ways. So, and a lot of it's just meeting new people and making new friends and being able to do stuff like this. You know,
Yeah.
There's a great reputation. The thing it is, you build a good reputation, and people know who you are, and they know they can trust you. You know, and that's how you get more cases. And then you can go out and do lectures and stuff like that, you know, and educate people, right? Kind of like what you're doing with this now. I mean, you're educating people, right? So it's a good thing. It's all positive.
Yes.
Yeah. And we have fun while we do it.
Exactly. That's the key right there. You have fun while you do it.
Oh, yes.
Whenever Brittany lets us know, like, oh, so and so like agreed to, we're like,
yeah, you've had some great experience. You have some great people on, some very good friends of mine. You know,
yeah, they're
like buddy Chris
fun.
DeCesare, and then
Yeah.
Chris.
He
I just saw him this past weekend. So
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
He's
You've had a lot
funny.
of great people on. Yeah, I'm in good company. You know?
Well, we always appreciate it, and we love picking everybody's brains, like getting kind of like the different feedback and experiences, and everybody thinks so differently.
Yes.
And that's what's so intriguing about it. And I think that's what's so fantastic about the paranormal community in general, is that like you can walk into one of these expos and there's a sea of people of all different backgrounds, shapes, sizes, cultures, experiences, and they all have this one thing in common, that you feel like a camaraderie, you know, where you're just like, okay, I'm not the only weirdo. This is fantastic.
You're friends before you walk in the door, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You just walk up to somebody.
Actually,
so
it's true.
what's your story?
Is true.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a good time.
It is.
So,
it is a good time.
Brittany, did you have any questions? While we're start wrapping things up, did you have any questions you wanted to? I've kind of dominated the questions because I tend to do that, and I apologize.
Is she the leader, by the way? Is that like
yeah, right.
I just tend to like talk too much.
Yeah. Well, you're like me, Gail. That's why I talk too much too. You know.
This is why she's on every
we're
show.
the leaders, and we're actually never always. That's not always true. Like I'm not. You know.
I always try really hard, and I divvy up the questions. But then, as the conversation goes, I'm like, let's talk about this.
Well,
and
if Ronnie's iPad hadn't gone down, I mean,
I know.
Look, yeah, it was. It allowed Gail to continue on with the conversation.
Oh,
so it all worked out.
Yeah, that's the reason why.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Hey, I would say I'll say this about like the paranormal and being one of the weird people. I was one of the weird people even before I really got into all this paranormal stuff, because I'm a big Star Trek fan.
Me too.
And I used to go to all the Star Trek conventions years ago.
Yes.
Now they call them Comic-Cons. In my day, there were Star Trek conventions, and you had like 100 people show up,
right.
all dressed up. And now you get tens of thousands of people show up.
Oh yeah.
Now it's cool. Well, as a Star Trek fan, then I'm gonna quiz you a little bit, because a lot of people don't know this. So my first cat, who crossed the Rainbow Bridge, R.I.P. I love him to bits.
Yep.
I named him Tiberius. Do you know the origin?
Tiberius Kirk.
Yes, James T. Kirk. See, I love
that's
it.
an easy one.
A lot of people don't know that. They just know
I grew up with it. The TOS was my thing that I grew up with. You know?
Although
I did watch all the Next Generation stuff too. I watched
and that's when I have to ask a question, because of my other friend.
I know where we're going with this.
Yeah, I have to ask this question. So, and I ask him all the time. So, Kirk or Picard?
Well, I'm just a Kirk fan. I mean, I grew up with him, so that's. I mean, to me, that's the first. I mean, even though he wasn't the first captain of the Enterprise, that's my first captain of the Enterprise. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I do like Picard though, and I have watched the Picard series, and I loved it. And I liked, although I knew how the ending was going to be from the very beginning. Because I think to me, I don't know. I just know this stuff too much. I think they gave it away in the opening credit thing, where they show all the stuff that was going on in the beginning of Picard. But anyway, that's me. I've been around that stuff too long. That's why my problem is. Like, oh, I know how this ends. Okay.
I had a huge problem with the way season 1 ended. Ronnie heard me, got an earful of my complaint. I was like, the show's over now. I was like, this is bull. I'm like, look at what they did. I was so mad.
Did you know how that's how it was going to end?
I was really hoping it was not going that direction. Really hoping.
I knew it was. I tell you, it's given away in the opening credits and the visuals of the opening credits. It's given away right there.
It was so disappointing. I'm one of the weird people though that I'm equally in love with Star Wars as I am Star Trek. So
yeah, me too.
I can't choose.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like my cat who just made an appearance. His name is Han Solo, and I have a black cat whose name is Kylo Ren. So with every group of cats, I just name them after a different sci-fi series.
Yeah. And I don't name my cats after the shows. I got my one cat who's he's locked out of the room right now. Chino, he's a tuxedo cat. So I call him Chino. And then I did have one cat I had for 21 years. That cat lived to be 21.
Wow.
And his name was Jake, and he was named after Jake the cat from outer space. The Disney movie. That Disney movie? I never saw that. Yeah. That's what he was named. He lived to be 21. That was an old cat. That was an old cat.
I had a tuxedo cat. He lived a long time too, but he wasn't the nicest of cats. I'll just leave it there.
Chino's nice. Chino's independent, but he sits around and cuddles with us at night in bed and stuff like that. So he's all right. I did have a cat once. His name, what was Harley? We called him Harley. He was a gray cat. You could take him by his tail and drag him around the house, literally, and he would let you. He would just lay there and just like, okay. He wouldn't even try. He wouldn't try. You could just drag it. He didn't care. Wow. I think that cat's tail was numb or something. I don't know. He loved it. He loved it. He loved when you did stuff like that. He's a weird cat. That was a weird cat. You can do anything you wanted to that cat. He didn't care. He was just happy to be there.
Cats are supposed to be great for the paranormal though, because they're very protective. They're empathic. They're half in, half out, as they say. They work very hard for the paranormal world.
As you know from the Egyptians, yeah.
Or the movie Constantine.
Yes, another good movie. Yep. Staring into the cat's eyes. I've never tried that. They get mad when you do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
But yeah, same thing though. Like you were saying, a big fan of pretty much all the sci-fi stuff, But Star Trek was the thing back in my day. I mean, but yeah, when Star Wars came out, I was just as equal a fan of that as anything. Can't say I cared for the new movies, the last three.
They were better than the prequels.
Okay. First one, okay. Basically, the first one was almost the last one all over again. I don't know. And then, the last two, I just didn't care for.
They were definitely better than episodes 1, 2, and 3, though. I mean, those were terrible.
Jar Jar was his own problem altogether anyway. So.
We don't have to go there. We don't speak of Jar Jar.
I hear you. I hear you. Although I did like the young Obi-Wan, and I did like what's his name who played his master there. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking.
Well, they're gonna do an Obi-Wan series.
I know. It's gonna be. I don't have Disney Plus or Disney Plus. Yeah, Disney Plus. I don't have that yet. So I have not seen The Mandalorian or any of that.
Come on.
I do know how it ended. They put that all over every place. So I did watch how that ended. So it was kind of interesting to see Luke Skywalker coming in.
Yeah, that was cool. Although
think everybody did.
I am very taboo in my opinions. I do not like Luke Skywalker or his character.
Really?
I do not care for him at all. I think he's a whiny little baby. All he did was complain the whole time until finally when push came to shove, he had to do something about it. And I was just like,
true. Yeah, that's true.
I was like, Princess Leia, she held her own
Yeah.
and didn't have any of those powers, and she still got the job done.
yeah, but in the early ones, you got to remember, Luke was still just a kid. Come on, he's a kid with powers. He could have been as bad as his father turned out to be.
That's true.
That's true.
That's no excuse to me. Everybody hails him as his hero, and I'm like, he whined and complained for 3 movies straight to the point where even Yoda got annoyed with him. I was like, no.
I preferred Han Solo. At least he just didn't take any garbage from anybody.
Right, just like my cat.
Yeah, I guess you could say Han Solo was like a cat.
Mm-hmm.
He's independent, does his own thing, and just doesn't listen to anybody.
Yeah, and he makes you laugh on occasion.
He makes you laugh. Okay, yeah. What more could you ask for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we
All
went
good.
on a tangent, but it was a
We
good
did. But
tangent.
that's okay.
Yes.
I started that tangent with the whole Star Trek thing. So.
It's all good. But we do have one last question that we ask everybody, just to wrap up everything. And that is what that moment you had where we call it the oh shizzle moment, where you're just like you had an experience that made you go, oh shizzle, this is real. Like this stuff actually exists. Can you tell us what that moment was for you?
Yeah, you can watch that on my Paranormal Nightmare when I was 17 and saw that thing coming for me. And that's what I got out of the paranormal. I left it. I had nothing to do with it. That was my oh shizzle moment. Yeah. I guess you could say my next one was working on that demonic case recently, and I watched that woman physically change. And that was oh, Jesus, those things are real. Demons really are real. Holy, you mean I knew it? But now I knew it. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. I believe it, and I knew it, but now I really know it. That stuff doesn't happen. People don't physically change like that. I'm sorry, they just don't. She did. What happened was her facial, just as the demon was being expelled, in the last part of the exorcism, her facial features changed. Her neck extended out, and her stomach extended way out. And then all of a sudden, as it expelled, she went completely back to normal.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just kind of like what you've seen on some of the movies.
Right.
That actually happened. That actually happened to that person. It's like, that doesn't happen. That people do not just do that.
Right.
Very weird. Very weird. And that was like an old shizzle moment too. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, that's my 2 old shizzle moments, I guess. The rest of it was just like, oh, that's interesting. You have shadow figures standing next to you, stuff like that. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Because when you're investigating, I would say that when you're investigating, you're not really thinking about that stuff. It just happens, right? I mean, you suddenly see a shadow figure just standing in front of you. It's like, oh, damn, is that real? You're almost second guessing yourself, so you don't really react to it.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I've had a hand placed on my shoulder. I was on the USS Salem. Had a hand on my shoulder, and I looked behind me, and my other investigator is standing 3 feet away. It's like, oh, it wasn't her. Okay. So I told her, but I didn't jump.
Right.
Yeah.
So those things are, I think it's just because you have a different attitude.
Right.
But, but the other things, I wasn't expecting that stuff at all. So, that's completely.
Catches you off guard.
That could totally catches you off guard. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So did I answer everything? They got everything?
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for spending the evening with us and answering all of our questions.
Yeah.
And your website is on the little ticker on the bottom of the screen now. If anybody has any information, want to learn more about Jack Kenna, please be sure to check out his website and his Facebook page and tune in on most Tuesday nights for his live Q&A.
Most Tuesday. We'll be on next Tuesday.
Most Tuesday nights.
You'll always see an announcement one way or the other. Yep.
Yeah. So be sure to follow for that. And again, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who watches. If please like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff, click the little bell for notifications, all that good stuff. And be sure to comment and let us know if you have any questions or any feedback or of anything you want us to do in the future. So thank you, everybody. And remember to stay curious, stay strange, and may the force be with you.
You tie that right back in.
Yes.
Live long and prosper, everybody.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.
On behalf of the entire Epicedium Paranormal team, thank you so much for watching our video. Please be sure to click the like button and also comment. Also, subscribe to our page and click the little bell so that you get notifications on future videos and our live sessions. You can also find our other social media platforms in our link tree in our bio. Our link tree also gives you the ability to submit an inquiry if you yourself are having a paranormal problem in your home or business. Thank you again for watching our video, and please be sure to stay tuned for future content and also stay curious. Bye, guys.